Let's bring in Steve Ratner. Again, 6.65 million unemployment claims made. So let's bring in Steve. Also, let's bring in the former acting Secretary of Labor under President Obama, Seth Harris. Steve, let's start with you. 6.65 million claiming unemployment, just an absolutely staggering number. What's your initial reaction?
My initial reaction is that it's a staggering number. It is twice what most of the forecasters thought was going to happen this week. It is twice more or less what happened last week. To put this in a kind of context, 2 weeks ago, the week before last, we had 281,000 claims for unemployment insurance, and now we're dealing with 6.64 million. It does suggest that we are well on our way to massive unemployment in this country. People are talking about as high as 6% next month. The number we get this Friday will not be that meaningful. It's too early. But the one a month from now could be as high as 6%. We could be looking at double digits in the summer. And beyond the unemployment number, Joe, what that obviously reflects is a massive downturn in the level of economic activity in this country. I wouldn't quite say the country's come to a stop, but for example, we had car sales for March down 40%. And of course, March itself was a kind of transition month into this lockdown kind of full force quarantine situation. So you're going to see car sales fall more. I was talking yesterday to someone who runs a bunch of fast food restaurants, sales down 35%. You're dealing with an economic contraction that is massive. In the second quarter, we will probably see the economy shrink by 1.5 times the total amount it shrunk during the great financial crisis in just one quarter. And so everything that Chuck Schumer was talking about a few minutes ago becomes a key to the solution. This is a problem that only government can really solve. We can debate the right ways to do it, which stimulus bill when and to do what. But clearly the government has to do what it's been doing and is going to need to do more.
So, Seth Harris, when are we going to start feeling the effects of the relief packages, the bailout packages that have been passed? When will we start seeing that in the numbers?
I think it's going to take a little while. As Leader Schumer was saying, the unemployment checks aren't going out. They're just beginning to go out now to these 10 million people who've lost their jobs in the last 2 weeks. Also, the checks from the Treasury have not gone out. The stimulus checks of $1,200 per person, $500 per child, those checks have not gone out. The loans, applications for loans from the SBA and the Treasury just open up tomorrow. So we haven't even begun to fight this fight. We haven't gotten our resources on the battlefield yet. And millions of Americans are really in despair. They're terrified. They don't know how they're going to pay their bills. And let me just, following up on Steve's point about the scope of this thing, during the Great Recession, our highest unemployment rate was 10%. With these 10 million people losing their jobs over the last 2 weeks, filing for unemployment claims, we now know roughly that the unemployment rate now is at least 9.5% and almost certainly higher, because a lot of people who want to file claims haven't been able to get through. There are a lot of people who are confused, haven't been able to file, don't know if they should file, don't know if they're eligible. So we've already in 2 weeks essentially reached the lowest point of the Great Recession, and this is just the beginning. We've only been doing this now for 2 weeks.
Hey, Steve, it's Willie. To follow up on what both you and Seth have been saying about where this is headed, I'm struck looking at that staggering number. Remember, last week was 3.28 million jobless claims. That shattered the previous record. Now we're talking this week about double that number just in a week at 6.65 million. But I'm struck thinking that Florida hasn't even really shut down yet. Texas hasn't shut down and hasn't even said whether it will. These are major population centers, major centers, of course, of business and commerce that could down the road be shut for business. We know Florida will be as of midnight tonight. Where do you see this going? Because this doesn't even account for all of the country and the problems that may still be ahead.
No, Willie, that's an excellent point. We really are not yet even in the full force of the kind of shutdown that we're likely to have. And by the way, this sort of backs up through the economy. If people, as people stop buying cars, then the car parts suppliers start to lose orders. They start to shut down. They start to furlough people. You've seen in the last few days major retailers furloughing virtually all of their workforce. So no, as Seth was indicating and as you're saying very clearly, this has not yet reached its full force across the country. And I'm not here to terrify people. It's not my goal in life. But you had, for example, the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank, part of the Federal Reserve System, so a completely nonpartisan organization, talking about unemployment levels in the 32% range eventually, which would be substantially above the Great Depression, which only reached about 25%. Mm-hmm. And so, as you're indicating, until this economy gets back to work, it is simply going to continue to slide this way. Now, I'm not here to advocate that we should do anything that is contrary to the best practices from a public health standpoint, but that becomes the gating issue. Whenever the public health people tell us we can get back to work is when you can start to see the economy get back to work. And just one other point, we've talked a lot. You had a really excellent piece earlier today from the correspondent in Beijing, more about her life, but she also talked about what's going on there. People are starting to get back to work thanks to the very harsh and abrupt measures they took. And the economy is starting to recover, but it's nowhere near full potential. And so even in a place like China that took very, very aggressive measures, it is a slow road back for their economy. And so we should expect, I think, under the best of circumstances, and these are not the best of circumstances, a slow road back, even when we finally get to the bottom, to the worst point in this cycle.
So let's talk about immediate options. Seth Harris, if you were advising the president, is there one thing you would tell him to do now, whether it be an actual move or working on his messaging to the American people?
I'll be honest, Mika, I'd ask him to resign. I think he's the worst failed leader our country has ever seen. He's not setting achievable and aggressive goals. He's not marshaling the resources that we need in order to be able to solve the problems, the extremely complex problems that we're facing, both from a health perspective and an economic perspective. He's not clearing away the obstacles that are keeping us from achieving our goals. We have a complete failure at the federal level. Congress is doing its best, but it's really limited in what it can do. We need top-level leadership that can succeed, and so far it has really been more of an obstacle to success than it has been a path to success. We don't have to be where we are today. We don't have to have 10 million people on unemployment. We don't have to have people shut up in their houses all across the United States. If we had comprehensive testing, as South Korea and other countries have done, if we had all the personal protective equipment we needed, all the medical supplies we needed, if we accelerated the production of ventilators, if we had smart shutdowns all across the United States rather than waiting until yesterday in Florida and not at all in Texas. I mean, this is really failed leadership that has put us in a catastrophic position. We are far behind the rest of the world. We're really going to end up being the shame of the world when this epidemic is over, and we should all be ashamed of where we are and how we ended up here.
Seth Harris, Steve Ratner, thank you very much for coming on this morning. And we're going to catch our breath a little bit. We've got some incredibly tough news, especially with the unemployment numbers that just came in.